What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Get Off My Lawn. I am Al the Geek, where myself and one Captain Xavier usually have a guest. If not, we just ramble on by ourselves and we talk about everything foam flinging related, from the projects we're working on, the things we think of, new stuff that has come out, events that are coming up, or like two grumpy old men, we're just going to find something and complain about it. But before I get into something, I just want to say there is a PSA. Just always be aware. Be aware. If you can read the shirt, you are being beware of being monitored. I have monitors. Like I said, beware. Let's be nice. Anyways, as always, welcome to the World Foam Alliance YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are a non-performing nonprofit. What does that mean? We have no money. We make no money. We do this on our free time with the skills and abilities that we have and the friends that we have. So, what does that mean? More subscriptions we get, more likes, the more likely we can get monetized. If we can get more monetized, guess what? We can do even more and do more fun things. So, yeah, be sure to like and share and like, and let everybody know as well. That'd be great. In other news, as you all know, coming up in next week on the Foam Zone, which is hosted by Andrew, aka Dark Sweep. He will be actually having a special guest. Well, he will actually have the Maryland Foam Alliance on with them as well. And what they're going to be talking about is the bracket. So they're going to do the whole bracket reveal for the Maryland Foam Tournament for Maryland Mayhem. Again, if you don't know about it, if you do know about it but forgot about it, or maybe you are coming, or you need that push that you want to be coming, Maryland Mayhem is coming up. It will be Mother's Day weekend. That's what, May 9th, 10th, 11th, whatever that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is. And again, the reminder is the tournament, as usual, is on Friday, but there has been a switch up. Saturday is the 11th hour and the convention. I will be having a table as well as many other people, and it is so much fun. You got to come check it out. But then also the HVZ will actually be on the Sunday. The HVZ will be on the Sunday. Also, to let you know, so basically what's happening today is that we have one Cordell Warren with us. We'll be bringing him on shortly. If you don't know who Cordell is, don't worry, you'll find out soon enough, and you'll be surprised, like, oh, it's that guy. And he'll actually tell you how much he does behind the scenes, because he does a lot behind the scenes. But that's also why the Maryland Foam Alliance is a great example of a well-run club when a bunch of people come together, work together, and not work against each other, and just the power of the hobby coming together, and just how big we can get and how great we can do things. Other than that, Maryland Mayhem again is coming up. I myself will be there. One Captain Xavier will also be there. In fact, we should bring him on. Cap, man, what's shaking, brother? How are you?
Too early to tell. Yes, I'm going to be at Maryland Mayhem. I'm finalizing my trip details this evening, hopefully. Not sure when I'm going to get there. The fact that they moved the HVZ to Sunday kind of threw a monkey wrench in my original plans, which was to fly home Sunday night. But that would mean that I would still be stinky from HVZ, and I don't know when the HVZ ends and when flights are available that night. So if I have to then fly out Monday, I might not arrive until Saturday or until Friday evening, which means I would miss the tournament. But since we're not in it, that's not the worst. But I wanted to heckle. But such is life. Yeah. Looking forward to that. Then Survival Fest later in the month. It's going to be a long month. We've got 2 events here that month. We've got our usual Borst event, plus we're now doing one down in Portland at a mall. Very excited about that. And yeah.
Tell us more about that Portland event, because that is something new. That's something different. And again, that's one, it's interesting. It's standard but not standard, but at the same time, as a reminder to those watching at home, in case you're looking for a different place because you can't find a park or someone's house.
Yeah, the hardest thing about running any event, it doesn't matter what the event is, but it's particularly true in Nerf and other things, especially shooting hobbies, because of how much space they take up. The hardest part about any event is securing a venue. You need a space to actually host the event in. And again, because we are a shooting type hobby sport, you need a lot of room. You need, a city park. You need an entire indoor gymnasium. You need a large space to play something like that. We have the advantage of Nerf being considered safe, means we can often use city parks, but not all city parks are an option. Not all towns have a suitably large city park. Some don't allow any kind of shooting sport. There's lots of issues around the venue. So trying to find a venue is always difficult. Finding an indoor venue is even more difficult, because they cost money. You know, if you want to use a building, if you don't own the building, then you have to pay for use of the building. And that can be prohibitively expensive depending on how large your club is. If you've got a large club and enough people are going to show up and are willing to chuck in $10, $15, $20 for an event, then you can get a decent sized venue. But even then, finding a venue that's willing to let you use their space is a problem. All of those problems and some more logistic problems went away for this event because a company that owns the venue reached out and asked us if we would run a Nerf war for them. So we have the
how
space.
Weirdly random.
Yeah, it happened because one of the employees, a new employee there, does Nerf, and they'd come up to, I think they were at one of the events you came to. But they came to an event at my place. They've been to Borst. And so they knew about the hobby, and they knew that they knew the guy to reach out to, being me. So the company was looking for additional things to use this space for because it was going largely unused for like weekends and stuff. And I'm like, well, what could we do on a weekend? Could we do like airsoft? Could we do paintball? And the guy's like, no, we're gonna do Nerf. I'm like, well, how do we make that happen? I know a guy. So he reached out to me and said, hey, would you be willing to help run a Nerf war here? And like, yeah, I can be there in an hour and a half. What do you want? You're like, no, I mean, the long, yeah. Because I have my entire Nerf war. Everything we use at Borst is now in a single trailer. I hook up the trailer and I can run a Nerf war anywhere. It's got absolutely everything in it you need, and it's really, really handy. And so it's just a matter of where are we running this event. So they reached out to me, and what the venue is it's an old Marshall's in a mall in downtown Portland. So it's a huge, box store, kind of, Sears, Macy's kind of store. It's 2 stories that we're only going to get to play on the lower stories. The upper story will be registration and staging. And then the entire downstairs will be one play area. And then they also have access to pretty much all of the underground parking garage, which is almost the size of the park we usually play in. It's enormous. And has almost about the same amount of color because there's just a huge number of pillars that are certainly large enough to hide behind that act very much like the trees in a city park. So it's going to be fun. We're hoping to have enough people to run 2 events at once. We're going to do an indoor event for new people, family friendly. It'll be your usual, 150 FPS cap, simple games, gather the MacGuffins or capture the flag or whatever. And then outside, where we've got a lot more room, we're going to do high cap stuff, high cap capture the flag and flag rush and the other kind of competitive games that, like the tournament at Maryland Mayhem, that style of game, outdoors. And then we're going to end the evening probably with a massive HVZ, combining the 2 locations and playing outdoors. So, it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. If we can make the first 3 events, they set up 3 events. If we can make those 3 events successful, they will continue to do Nerf events there, and we will continue to have access to that space. Because one thing we've wanted to do for a long, long time is a Pacific Northwest equivalent of Maryland Mayhem. The problem was
I was just going to go there.
Yeah, was getting a venue. We're looking less Maryland Mayhem and more Mall Madness for our first one because it's in a mall. And if we could gain access to the rest of like the hallway of the main mall, this building, and the parking garage, we would have so much space and so much variety of space and could do some really, really incredible things. And we've discussed numerous times that we have no excuse to not have our own invitational up here. Half the
Correct.
people that sponsor Maryland Mayhem are from the Pacific Northwest. X-Fox, Fox, Silver Fox, Out of Darts. They're all up here. And yet we don't have our own invitational. Mostly because they're all busy making enough money to sponsor other people's invitationals.
I think also, though, with you guys, weather is also another thing because it's finally the time of year.
Yeah.
And if you can find a large indoor place like that, especially since there's nothing major in the cold months and you guys aren't dealing with the rain because it is the Pacific Northwest, you live in a rainforest at times, that'd be freaking awesome.
Yes, a permanent potential indoor location for winter events or fall events, because summer's taken up by plenty of other invitationals already. So we would
Mm-hmm.
probably go either early spring, January, February,
Yep.
March, or later in the year, November, December. It gets cold here, but not that cold typically. So yeah, the parking lot area would be a little bit on the cold side, but if the rest is indoors, it doesn't matter. And it's a dying mall, so I don't imagine they would mind having somebody use their event and pay them lots of money. So that's long-term goals. Whether it happens or not, we don't know yet. What we do know is that we've got 3 events, one this month, May, and then June. And then we'll see where we go from there, depending on how much of a turnout. If nobody shows up, obviously the company is not going to continue to put resources into a failed event. So we're trying to make sure we get a good number of people to show up. We're not paying for the event in the traditional sense because they own the event and they're putting it on. They do have a cover charge. Obviously, they do want to make money. They do have to pay staff and all of that. And they have to, have the lights on and plumbing and all of that stuff because it does have bathrooms and so. But they have the insurance. They will have the waivers. All of that is covered for us. That's a huge logistic nightmare out of the way.
Yes, man.
And that's the other potential of if we're able to use the space, we would hopefully continue to be able to use their insurance and their waivers because it would be hosted by them in a sense. So that also opens up a lot of
I
yeah.
I had a question. So the one that he's working, it's actually the people that own it. So it's actually like a commercial real estate company.
No, it's a company called Trackers, and they use the space for summer camps. But the summer camps happen during the
Interesting.
week rather than the weekend. So they have right now they've got an archery range set up in there. They've got 3 axe throwing booths. They've got an entire wood shop set up in there, all of which
Wow.
is completely modular and will just get shifted out of the way and covered up for during the war. Yeah, but that's what they have used the space for, and so they were looking for additional things they could use it for.
I like that. That is fan. I also love the fact of the like your first reaction when it says you can't use the upstairs. It's like, oh, but at the same time that forces it into like your staging area because every
Yeah,
good venue needs a good staging area. So that is amazing because you're not in it, but you're it's not
yeah,
like
we're
no
still
no
able to
staging
use the
area is
space.
half a mile that way.
Yeah, exactly. The beauty is that because it's in a mall, there's practically infinite parking directly across, like 20 feet from where the staging area is going to be. There's the door that faces the mall parking lot. So bringing your stuff into the staging area is going to be super simple. You're not trucking it halfway across, a campus. And then it's a flight of stairs down to the play area. Or the elevator. The escalators, however, are disabled, which is fine. But there is a staircase. So,
Side note, man.
yeah, they've got like 20 or 30 4-foot by 8-foot sheets of plywood made into barricades.
Oh,
Plus all the tent cover that we're gonna bring, plus potentially airsoft inflatables for the parking lot. We'll see what Xbox is able to bring. I
all
need
right, I have
to
an idea.
coordinate with
I have an
him.
idea. Because
Yes.
it's indoor and it's that tile because it's an old store. It's a flat surface. It's indoors. It's huge. Get that golf cart working, man.
Oh, and there'll be no way to get the golf cart inside. There's
Oh,
no
there's got to
door
be a way to
large
get.
enough.
It's a store. There's got to be somewhere to get it in there, man. Come
No,
on.
no, I could use it out in the parking garage,
There we
but
go.
I would have to get the golf cart to Portland, which would require a large trailer, and I'm going to be pulling the small trailer with the stuff necessary to run the war. So
You forget you.
sadly, no. Um,
Maybe not you, but at the same time, you never you always. As soon as you put the
Future
call out,
events.
suddenly someone's going to show up with a truck and a trailer and saying, "I will fix your go kart, and bring it." Our hobby
You
is
never
full of
know.
crazy, wonderful people.
That's how I got the golf cart in the first place. Someone's like, "Hey, my
See,
parents used to own a golf course, but they sold it and retired. You want a golf cart?" Like, yes. But it's
I'm
from like
looking
the
for an excuse
80s,
to
and
Mad Max that thing.
it finally died before I ever got it Mad Max. There is a golf cart uh, seller like 7 miles north of me. Maybe a little bit more than that. Might be 20 miles. But yeah, one of these days I need to call them and go, hey, can you fix a 1989 Yamaha golf cart? And they're going to go, what?
Yes, you're the third one this week. Dude, that is funny.
Yeah, it's just not turning over. I don't know what his problem is.
I don't know. New battery or whatever.
I've tried that. Tried the battery. Tried the spark plugs. That's all I know about engines. I do computer stuff.
There you go.
So what's going on in the chat?
A lot of me.
Nothing's going on in the chat. Survival Fest. Yes, I am planning to attend Survival Fest. Again, I have no idea what days I will be there. Looking at travel, certain days are much, much, much cheaper than others. And that may have a major effect on when I travel. Ideally, I'd like to have to take as little time off as possible, but I'm not doing any long trips this year. I'm not like doing a week in Europe. So I've got more time off available.
Well, make it through Mayhem first, and let's figure out Survival Fest. Survival Fest, I'm going as well. I don't know exactly which days, but I know I'm going for all of it. That's for sure. So that's been on the calendar. I think I
need to talk to you about selling stuff, because you're going to be having your booth at Mayhem, right?
Yes.
I'm going to try to bring as much of my recently modded stuff as possible and try to sell it. And then whatever doesn't sell, I'll sell to you. Yes, and then you can mod it and sell it.
So ladies and gentlemen, he just said it. So yeah, Maryland Mayhem, come to my booth. You can buy stuff that he makes and stuff that I make.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of modded blasters. I've got 4 blasters so far that have been modded for Proton Pack, and then just a bunch of standard, like upgraded Strifes and Rapid Strike and Hyperfire, and I think I've got a Raven. And then if you want them to be Al the Geekified, you can just hand them to Al the Geek to then paint. Or you could hope that they don't sell and that I hand them off to Al the Geek and then he paints them and then you can buy them again later. But that seems a dubious way to go about it.
And that's dirty. Come on.
Still waiting for Out of Darts to re-release the Proton Pack. They've been getting close. They finally found a manufacturer for the board, but apparently there was a problem with the board, so they had to start over again. And then they got called away on some super secret road trip thing. I have no idea what's going on.
Ooh.
I've probably already said too much. But no, they announced all of this on their Instagram, I'm pretty sure. But I have been building Proton Packs left and right in preparation. I've got 2 of them done. They work beautifully. They hold 5 gallons and 6 gallons, respectively, which is an inordinate amount of rival. That's 1,800 and 2,100 rounds. And I've got an even bigger one coming that should hold 3,500 rounds.
Holy cow, man.
It is a 10-gallon tank, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like, how big that is. And if it works, I may or may not reveal my sources. But that means the problem is I need more agitators, because I only have 2 Out of Darts agitators, and I now need 5.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem.
Or I need to figure out how to improve the one I have the files for. Because I have the V6, which is before they went to a brushless fan, which means you still got to use like an air mattress fan to pressurize your tank. But I have the ability to make those as much as I want. They're not as pretty, they're not as compact, they don't work as well, but I can make them all I want.
There you go.
So maybe I will retrofit the one that's in a backpack to use my design, because my design is, again, not as svelte. It's not all self-contained. You've got the fan, you've got this, you've got a whole different thing that does the current sensing. It's a whole thing. But it can be done. No, I can't sell you one. Don't ask. I was made to promise on my life that I could have the files for personal use, but I cannot make them for other people. And I have no intention of breaking that promise to Out of Darts, because that would be stupid.
That would be. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I'd
don't
come kick
want,
your ass. Like, come on,
I
man.
don't
What are you
want Luke
doing?
mad at me. That would
No.
that would not be that would be bad.
You'd have Luke squared mad at you.
Yeah, I'd have both Lukes, and that I don't need that smoke. They give me free stuff. Why would I?
And then Jose would just look at you very, very disappointingly and judgingly, just like,
yeah. Well, that's just normal. I have it coming.
All right. At this point, we should let people know why we're here and what we're doing. So again, that's a whole other episode or live stream for 24 hours in the beginning. But with Maryland Mayhem coming up, we're all excited for it. Again, it has become, in my own opinion, and you can judge also otherwise, but hey, man, that's the best thing about this hobby. Find the event thing or whatever it is that suits you. But for me, Maryland Mayhem is the premier event. It is coming up Mother's Day weekend. And so, if you do not know, it does happen in Maryland. It is being put on by the Maryland Foam Alliance. The Maryland Foam Alliance is a great example of how big the hobby can get and which way to go with it. And that's also why the World Foam Alliance is here. It started off as 3 clubs. Then they realized they just went to each other's clubs. So they formed one club. And the one club said, let's put on an event. And away we go, man. We are off to the races. As a result, today's host we are going to have is Cordell Warren, also known for 703 Labs, but mostly known because he is an admin for the Maryland Foam Alliance. He owns one of the clubs, and he will talk to us about Maryland Mayhem, and he will also correct anything that just came out of my mouth that was wrong. Because that's possible. And also, we're going to be pushing for we're going to talk about also about the bracket reveal next week as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have Cordell Warren. Cordell, man, what's shaking, brother?
Hey, guys, how's it going? Real quick, Al, you were pretty much spot on. If there was a Cliff Notes version of how our timeline of becoming 3 clubs into one organization, that was pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, let's do like the little more extravagant. So again, let people know, I guess, which club you're an admin of, and I guess tell us about the one you're part of in the Maryland Foam Alliance.
So I do the adminning mostly for Southern Maryland House of Nerf, which is kind of like, it's of the 3 clubs, it's technically the biggest, but we don't really go by numbers. We don't do that type of measuring in public. So I do a lot of the admin work. I do a lot of the artwork that you see in our publications. And literally the way we came together was both Southern Maryland and Maryland Nerf Herders basically started within a month of each other and then discovered each other. And then we started going to each other's events because we didn't want to play at the same events that we're running. We would go to the other club's event to play and we would run our own. And then somewhere along the way, Andrew showed up and made DMV Nerfers. And we decided that rather than compete with each other, it was better to basically form Voltron and become a company. And so last year we officially incorporated as Maryland Foam Alliance, and the rest is history. Along that route, we also decided to make a 3-day weekend that at the time we were trying to rival Inwar as the biggest thing on the block. And I think we've been very successful at it, and we're just trying to make it better each year. And so that's the long and the short of it.
So I guess when you guys started Maryland Mayhem, and I love the fact that so tell them what the original lineup for Maryland Mayhem was, and then what led to the 11th hour.
So our first thought was just to basically another collaborative effort. We decided to tag team with the UMBC Invitational, which is a long-standing event here in Maryland. And we just decided to tag along and do like an event. So we initially wanted to do that invitational and then have something that was our type of thing to do afterwards. And then somewhere along the way, we decided to throw MFT into the mix. And we realized last year that we run the biggest tournament in the continental US. And we were very surprised by that fact. We're like, did we do this on an accident?
Yes
But
and
yeah,
no.
that's the long and the short of that as well.
Well, for the Saturday, because originally wasn't it supposed to be an HVZ at a different school, but then that ended up canceling, which led to like the creation of the 11th hour because it was like at the 11th hour you pivoted.
Yeah, if you were to ask Boom or Dart Sweep, they'd probably go into a
I
better
can tell
explanation of
you,
that.
I am familiar with all of it.
Oh, here
Yeah,
we
it was
go.
But
originally
that's
going to
basically how
be
that worked.
UMBC was going to do their invitational on Saturday, and then Goucher, the birthplace of HVZ, was going to do an invitational the next day. And then, yeah, like 2 weeks before the event, Goucher had to cancel for whatever reason. And so the Maryland Foam Alliance threw together a war with almost no prep time, and it was incredible.
Yeah, that basically sums it up.
I am still disappointed that I never got to play HVZ at Goucher because I'd been hearing about Goucher since I got into HVZ a decade ago.
Sorry, my dog is just off screen scratching at one of my couches.
Of course. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. So, Cordell, did you ever do an HVZ over at Goucher?
No, I have only done HVZs at UMBC, although I should definitely change that at some point. I should at least go out to Survival Fest.
Yeah, are you coming to Survival Fest, by the way?
I'm not planning on it, but you never know. I know Boom and Donut are going. Dart Sweep will probably join them. I don't know if I'm just going to hop on in a car. We'll figure that out.
Perfect, you're coming. That's how I ended up going, and that's why I'm going again this year. Last year I could not. I'm going. Actually, a lot of people, more people are going than you think than you would imagine. And I mean, a lot of people seem to be going. Or am I just imagining things?
No, Survival Fest is becoming very popular, and I'm extremely happy for that. Kelsey and that group are good people, so I'm glad their event is booming.
Absolutely. Like, Catman, do you know who's coming from the Pacific Northwest?
He's like tweaking.
People.
Me.
I know you're coming, but is Out of Darts coming, or I want to say Silver Fox and Out of Darts are coming, but then don't quote me on that, people, and feel free to fact check me as well.
Yeah, I have no. I think Silver Fox was talking about it. I know X Fox wants to go. I don't know about Out of Darts though.
Well, me and you are going to be there, so if no one and Andrew and Donut and Boom, if no one else shows up, well, at least we're there. So I'm confident it'll be more than just 6 people. That's also partly why I'm going, because I'm very excited about it. I can confirm, though, that one, Anthony Maritime Foam, as much as he'd love to go, he just lives too far away, and the two events are too close, so he is doing Maryland Mayhem. Unless suddenly a mystery donor buys him a flight and pays for his event. Otherwise, yeah, Anthony will only be coming to Maryland Mayhem.
Dude, just put a GoFundMe together and see what happens.
You know what? For him, he probably will, but he'd feel guilty about it, so that's why he won't. All right, so then tell us, because the big thing again for those following at home, but again, let people know, especially if you're in the tournament, if you're part of the tournament or anything else. So next Wednesday on Foam Zone, we will be revealing the bracket for the Maryland Foam Tournament. Cordell, you want to tell us a little bit about that and what we're doing?
Yeah, so if you watched last year, we're pretty much going to keep the same format. We're going to reveal the bulk of the group round because we've already figured it out. What's going to be really exciting for me is that we have, I think, 3 brand new teams that have never competed in Maryland Mayhem competing this year. So I'm excited.
Who are the 3 new teams?
So I believe it's Friendly Fire and 2 others that escape me at the moment. Oh, Space Wolves and Void are coming. They have never played in the tournament to my knowledge. I could be dead wrong though. And if I am, one of the guys will curse me out in private chat right about
now. That's okay. Underdogs, man. That always does better. And do we know where they're out of? Not that matters.
No, not off the top. If I think they are on the website now, that shows how much prep time I did for this.
Well, that's okay. That's all next Wednesday, anyways. We get more of the information. The big thing is what we want to do today is remind people what it is, when it's happening, and to show up for it, because I think it's always a lot of fun, and especially with this first, like we were part of it last year and we did it. And for those following along at home, Team Mega Double XL will not be in the tournament this year. We missed sign up, and the big reason for that is because all you people out there decided to fill up all the slots with 1 hour. Within 1 hour, it was all full, gone, done. See you later, done. Am I going to complain about it? I'm done complaining. Am I excited about it? Yes. Why am I excited about it? That tells you something. You have got to be running a great tournament where within the first hour, mind you, on New Year's Day at lunchtime, where half the people have to sleep anyways because it's New Year's, still showed up and filled out, and it was gone in an hour. And how many teams again, Cordell?
It's a full 18 again.
18 teams, man. 1 hour, signed up, done. That alone should tell you if you are first finding out about this tournament, have never been to the tournament, or wondering about the tournament. 1 hour, New Year's Day, it's full, it's over, that's it. So we were all half asleep, so no one filled out the bracket in time.
You're not wrong. Literally, the only reason I was conscious because I actually work New Year's Day regardless because of my day job. And so me and the guys were on the website. I'm sitting in an empty office watching cameras. And between 12 and 1, when we opened, they were like, we're already full. And I'm like, what? Okay, so it's got to be the same 18 teams from last year, right? No. New teams. What is this? We told all the old teams that this is when it was going to happen, and no, it filled up. It's crazy.
Oh my God, absolutely, it filled up. So yeah, we missed it, but it worked out okay because one of our players, Matt, can't make it anyways. He's going to be he's got some exciting family news happening and stuff like that, so he's going to be busy. He can't make it. Maritime Foam will make it. The rest of us should be there. Again, Cap, he'll show up when he shows up, depending on his travel plans. But the advantage of it is that we get to participate in other ways. So I think a lot of Team Mega Double XL will be participating in the live stream with the World Foam Alliance is live streaming the tournament. And so we will be participating in game calling, or as one Captain Xavier says, what are we doing, dude?
We're heckling. We are giving grief. That is what we are doing.
Yes,
in what style?
Statler and Waldorf style is what I wanted to do, but then they made us actually be like officially calling it, and we should probably, behave, but I really wanted me and Al in the background in a cardboard, theater booth. Just being ornery.
So what you're basically saying is you wanted to be the two old dudes from the Muppet Show.
That is exactly the reference. Yes, that is Statler and Waldorf.
Exactly. I mean, I think I have enough time to make a cardboard cutout box for you guys.
Well, like I said, I might not even be there in time, so which
you
is
make
very
a box,
in keeping with.
If you make a box, he'll be there. I know him well enough. If the box is there and we get to do it, he'll be there.
Well, if nothing else, I can use the box at the 11th hour and heckle during that.
It'll be my booth, and then him going, "What are you doing? Buy that, you cheapskate! Get out of here, you bum!"
That works out.
For the record,
Right.
if there is a cardboard booth, we will have eye protection, and we will be armed.
We will be a target, and we will be armed with things that are not probably otherwise allowed.
So in other words, during the Saturday game of Titan Ball, a random rocket will just impact you guys, and you will be
we'll be halfway across the field, just arcing Mega in from a moose.
Correct.
Perfect. Just don't hit me in the face. Ask Boomstick how the predecessor to the moose he was prototyping and shot me in the face with that.
That's just rude.
Exactly.
Doesn't sound like the sort of thing he would do.
Now, to be fair, it was not intentional. It was just one of those snap moments where you're like, "Oh no, someone's coming! I have big rifle, aim!" Like,
no thought process, point and fire.
Exactly. Just to be fair to Boom, I'm not going to dog him too much.
That's fair enough. All right, Cordell, we should tell people your origin story, how you ended up in this hobby of all the hobbies.
Complete chance encounter. So it was my 29th birthday. I had been watching like Coop and all of those guys doing projects on YouTube for a longer time. And so right around that time, I just took the day off from work and I did my first project, which was a long shot, just a paint mod, no real performance mods, but I made it look pretty. About a month later, I met Ben, who is the primary owner of Smithhaun's, Southern Maryland. Came out to play, and the rest was history. I started playing, then I started being a volunteer, then I started designing stuff for them, and now I am a partial owner.
It's not a bad thing. You show up to it. What? It's a Nerf event? Yeah, show up because you never know where you're gonna end up, man.
Exactly.
I got invited to one of the first Pan Wars, and now I'm here.
That's also a warning. Be careful when you show up to your first Nerf war. This
Be
could
careful.
Mm-hmm. Because yeah, I showed up, got my butt kicked, and was like, okay, how do I get better at this? Oh, you might want to have a blaster that performs above stock. Yeah, helps a lot.
You
So then
can't
what was
get
your first?
tags with stack. Don't blame your tools.
Exactly. I learned how to get better tools.
Either that, or you got to be like an Olympic runner and just run fast and it can avoid and dodge. Yeah, that's not me. So yeah,
Not in this body
better
frame.
tools. Yeah, better tools. So then, what was your first mod then, dude?
I think like the first true mod I did was overhauling the Strife. Like a lot of people. One of the other guys who was running our events at the time showed me how to do it. And from there, it was doing all type of electronic mods. Then I bought 3D printers, so I was building Caliburns and whatever hot 3D printed thing was on the market at the time. And I still do it now. Matter of fact, if I turn this camera around, you're gonna see I have one of my printers on my other table right now because I'm supposed to be doing multicolor printing with Neil, but that's a problem in and of itself.
Are you supposed to be printing stuff for the for Mayhem?
Yes, I'm supposed to be helping Boom, who most of y'all know is Boomstick. I call him Neil a lot, but I'm supposed to be helping him do stuff. Thankfully, he's got it covered, but I definitely was supposed to be helping him with a project on top of the other stuff I've been doing.
So are you leaning on the? Well, technically, this is for the MFA because you're on the show promoting it. So
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning into. I'm gonna clown on them a little bit, but I'm also self-deprecating. I have a strong enough ego I can call myself out on my own BS.
that's see that yes, that is a strength, my friend. That is a strength. By the way, quick jump into chat. So we have Donut Cat in the chat, and when we were talking about the Waldorf Statler thing, Donut, we could put you all up in the scissor lift with a cardboard balcony.
That
Would be fantastic. I would take a picture of that.
Yes,
Absolutely,
and
yes.
we can even have a camera so you get our view of everything if we choose to share it with you.
And I think should be a scissor lift on site, so this can totally happen.
Dude, I've operated scissor lifts. I'm good.
Or at least there is an upper I think there is some sort of upper level. I guess I ask Andrew and see if we can actually make this work because now I need to see this. Like my eyes need to be appalled by the madness of this concept.
I will. If it happens, I will endeavor to ensure that I get there. Well, what time is the tournament on Friday?
Friday's tournament starts at 9. Of course, a lot of us will be there about 2 hours prior to that for setup reasons, and we'll go to probably 5 or 6.
Okay, so landing at 7 wouldn't work. Good to know.
Well, even if you come a little later, we can improvise till you show up. Because the beautiful thing is, if it ended at like lunch or 1, and you don't show up for a couple hours, but since it runs till 5, it's a long day anyways.
Yeah.
So if it works out where the only thing that makes sense for you to show up a little later, we will make it work. Obviously, the sooner the better. But dude, I get it. Life.
Yeah. The downside is traveling east. Time is against me.
Yes.
Which is tragic. Like I could leave 7 p.m. Sunday and get home at 9 p.m. But if I leave at 10 a.m., I don't get there till 10 p.m. to get to you, which is just a pain in the butt.
That is.
We'll talk about it. Because one of the options, again, because you might be multiples of you traveling. If it makes sense for you all to crash at my place on the Thursday night and then we head over Friday morning, we'll figure it out. Options.
Yeah.
That sounds like Doctor Who levels of timey-wimey.
Yeah, it's time zones are funky, and it makes travel a problem. So I'll be working with. I know the only person I know from the crew that's coming with me is Andrew, so he's the one I need to schedule with, and it's definitely logistically a lot better for us if we come home on Monday rather than Sunday, just because it would give us time to actually get a shower. But we could go home with you Sunday and fly out of Dulles instead of BWI.
Correct.
And that would save us a hotel for the night.
Correct.
And if we fly out Thursday, we stay with you, we go up Friday, that saves us another. So we'd only need Friday night, Saturday night hotel rooms. That would probably save us enough to be able to fly Thursday instead of Friday. It's like $200 more to fly Thursday than Friday. It's a pain in the butt.
Is there more? I thought it'd be less.
You'd think. That's what I thought, but no, flying Friday was the cheaper option for some reason.
Because it's Mother's Day weekend, maybe.
Probably, maybe, who knows? But I'll work it out with Andrew just as soon as possible. Well, send me the link to the hotel again, because I don't remember which hotel you were staying at, because we're going to stay at the same place just to. We'll probably get
Cordell
our.
Staying at.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this should be fun then, because I've stayed in this hotel. It's a pretty solid hotel, but what's good is you're right next to Anne Arundel Mall, so all the food is right there, and the Walmart is directly across the street, so you can grab fresh starts.
Yeah.
We stayed there last year.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll check it out. Probably behoove us to rent our own car, because I know you're moving with a lot of stuff, and if me and Andrew both have all of our gear, it would probably be better if we just get our own little SUV.
Perfect. We'll sort it out. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, which reminds me, so then, because last year at Maryland Mayhem, was that Friday night or Saturday night, we ended up at the Green Turtle.
That reminds me, I have to go call that Green Turtle back. Because we will definitely be doing that Saturday night excursion again.
Yeah, this time I'm definitely going to have Pizza Hut just order me a stuffed crust pizza, because fuck that wait. Oh,
that wait
I said a bad word.
Ridiculous.
I said a bad word. I said a bad word.
I think the moderator needs a virtual swear jar for every time we curse.
I know.
We were the first group to get to that restaurant, and I was the last person to get my food. I could have ordered Pizza Hut, had it delivered, eaten. What?
Like, you're not wrong, and it's wild how that actually ended up working. Like, they literally just brought that out completely sporadically.
They did, and it was also, I was the furthest from the door.
It was
so we got there, but then other people arrived before the ordering started, and so I ordered last, and then my food came out last, and there was a Pizza Hut. I could have walked to the Pizza Hut and done carry out and come back, and still had an hour before my food got there.
You could have walked into the mall, walked to the food court, which is
that's where the Pizza Hut was.
No, across the street. The actual Anne Arundel Mall, you could have walked into there, walked to the center of the mall where the food court is, got your food, and come back.
That's where the Pizza Hut is. It's in the mall.
All right, for those following along at home that weren't there, as it turned out, we were trying to figure out where to go for dinner. So then I think Cordell suggested the Green Turtle because it's right there. So the other adventure we had.
we put it in the GPS. We all pile into the SUV. We're not quite sure how far it is. The numbers aren't making sense. We find out that it is literally on the other end of the parking lot of the hotel that we were staying at. We get in the car. We drive to the far end of the parking lot. It's there. Does the mook driving let us out of the car? No.
No.
He drives us back to the other side of the parking lot and makes us walk the 100 feet or so. And this is why I make jokes about his mother.
Ludus Games, folks. My buddy Jim, Ludus Games. But so everyone's asking where are you coming? So we're just telling people, hey, come down here. So, excuse me. It was a busy night as is, and they weren't expecting us. And at the same time, we had no idea how many people we'd have. It started with 10. So instead of a table wait, because this was April and it was warm enough, although we told people to bring a jacket, they said you can have the patio because the patio wasn't open yet. They didn't have staff, but at least there was seating. So it went from 12 people to 50. There was 50 of us in about an hour.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, something like that. When I call, I'm going to say we're going to do 25, but I'm not going to keep that number.
Tell them we need another section. You remember what happened last year? 50 are coming again because that's exactly what's going to happen. You know it. And the funny thing is when they came out and you see 50, it was almost all guys, but 50 of us older people, well, between 20 and us old people. And let's face it, we are not the most friendliest group to walk out to and see 50 guys that are hungry, thirsty, and are very loud. So when they came out, they were a little nervous. But what we quickly started doing is every time they came out, it was silence until they announced the name, and then we all cheered. We're now turned into a fun game where they almost wanted to get the food out fast enough just to see what stupid mookery we'd do because it was becoming fun.
What was baffling to me was how difficult it still was to get whose food it was, because they'd come out, they'd say the name, we'd all cheer, no one would raise their hand.
It was so wild.
Every single time you're like, my God, this is not complex pattern matching. They're going to come out, you're going to say a name. If it's your name, you raise your hand.
God forbid you made multiple orders, like appetizer, dinner, dessert.
I tell you, dude, it was funny. And well, the thing is, our main waiter, and everyone tipped well. He made a lot of money that night. We told him what we were doing the next day, and the kids showed up at the 11th hour. He's like, "Man, you guys were great. You weren't kidding." Nope. Welcome.
No, we were serious. We had like 500 people doing dumb stuff.
Yep.
People pointed out it was good food, and they had their own root beer, and I forgot to keep the bottle, and I am disappointed. So we have to go back, so I can get a bottle of their root beer to add to my collection.
Yeah, make the call. Tell them we're coming, and tell them. Yeah. And see, there we go. CR Nerf. Bill was there. Fomando was there. There was a bunch of everybody was there. By the way, Bill, we were just talking about our adventures at the Green Turtle, where it went from 12 to 50 people, and our shenanigans, our usual shenanigans. So yeah, Cordell, call them up. Tell them 25. Tell them 40. Tell them 40. And say, but you thought that last year. We showed up, and how much money and how many problems did you have? Don't make me go across the street to Rundle Mill.
Yeah,
but no. You're not listening to me. There's no but. I am bringing 50 people with money, and they're going to be hungry. Set us up, and we'll keep coming back every year. Otherwise, I will go elsewhere. I know you can do it.
I'll do it. It's on the list. Trust me.
I believe it. Oh my God, but that was so much fun. And this year, because it's May, it might actually be warmer. So we could actually, as long as it's not raining, we could probably do the patio and it'll be much better.
Absolutely.
All right, should we look at the chat? It seems a lot of people are talking about a lot of things and we're just ignoring everybody.
Mostly it's just people saying hello.
Yeah, pull them the phones here, see what's being read. Yeah, it's a lot of hellos.
Well, we got Lego Boy, Captain Xavier, the LMG is on its way.
Which LMG?
See? That's why you look at it.
There's an
There's a
LMG.
couple of those now that I'm actually speculating for reasons.
Lego
Like
boy,
I
please
don't know
explain
how
the
much you
LMG.
guys are on Reddit, but have you seen the LMG that was made by Busy Young Exec, the BYE 25, I believe, that Walcom did a review of?
No, tell us.
So it is a built from the jump bespoke LMG chain gun firing Nerf darts, and it and probably the one that Mr. Heath Pants I think designed are the two I'm looking at. Other than there is a third one that basically it is a LMG based around the Spirit hardware.
Oh,
Yeah, there is Gift from the Singapore crew, I believe, is working on that one. Or is he in Uno? I think it's in Uno, but he's working on that one. And so the only reason I know is because I'm looking for an LMG to complete one of my like 5-year long projects. So I'm deciding which model I'm going to endeavor to build. But there are 3 of them.
interesting. Cap, you know anything about this?
What? I was looking up Lego stores in Baltimore.
Good choices.
What?
There actually is a Lego store nearby. You're not.
Oh yeah, no, there's Lego stores everywhere. I just to completely derail the conversation. I recently discovered that Lego stores have a passport, and you can get your Lego store passport stamped in every Lego store you go to. I did not discover this was a thing until after I had been to Copenhagen.
You know what, Cap? Now that you mention it, I believe the Lego store is in the mall.
Probably. It's almost always in a mall. Lego stores are always in malls. I've never seen a
it's right
standalone
next to
Lego
one of those
store.
bookstores. But I believe, if you walk in the mall towards the food court, you should see it on the right hand side.
Cool.
And that tells you how often I'm in Anne Arundel Mall.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah,
the way,
there's 3 in the SeaTac area. I've been to all of them, and I've been to Portland's, and I've been to Spokane's. Later this year, I'm going to be hopefully making a trip to Salt Lake City. There's 3 in Salt Lake City, including one in the airport. Anyway, let's see. What do we got going on?
So Lego Boy
MHP,
says...
the MHP LMG, belt fed. Cool.
Yeah.
See, there it is.
Yeah, there are 3. There's the one that I just mentioned. I think it's called Hesperium that Gift is working on, the MHP one that you just mentioned, and the third one is the BYE 25 from Busy Young Exec. But they're all belt-fed LMGs.
Strong arm plunger rod. Yeah, you can get a strong arm plunger rod from another strong arm.
That was going to be my
They're
suggestion.
at this point as ubiquitous as Mavericks. So just
just go to Goodwill and find one. Fuck, I will not focus. What was the original? We were talking about LMGs, and we're back onto that.
See?
I do have the Lego passport. I keep it next to my real passport.
I got to renew mine, which reminds me.
Mine's good until 2030, so
mine expires this year.
Hopefully it'll survive this nonsense.
Different show, another topic. Get one. Yes, get one.
Yeah. Fun fact. So my mom's worked at the State Department since before I was born, so she has a passport. I have never got one, and she's traveled all over South America.
Dude,
all over Europe.
Get one. You're coming to Canada. We're gonna do a war in Canada eventually. You're coming, so
fair enough. I'll get one.
There we go. Or you go to Europe with Cap and wander.
Yeah, there you go. I have a location to visit in Europe that turned out to be ridiculously fortuitous. I acquired a really fancy blaster from Belgium recently. Or
really?
got on the order list for a really fancy blaster from Belgium. And I was talking to the fine fellow in Belgium. And he said, if you're ever, I mentioned that Belgium was one of the countries that I wanted to visit the next time I go to Europe, and we're hoping to do that next year in 2026. We'll see if we're even allowed in Europe in 2026. But he invited me to go to his workshop, which it turns out is only 40 minutes from where we wanted to go in Belgium anyway. We wanted to go to Waterloo, and he's 40 minutes from Waterloo. And that was like, yeah, I mean, that's nothing. It's right there. And he's like, I have never driven 40 miles to anywhere in my life. We don't do that. That's madness. I'm like, my grocery store is 40 miles away.
It's the idea of Americanism. You just
we're so spread
depending
out.
on how much civilization you want to deal with, you might live 40 miles away from everything.
Yeah, and if you're in a big city, you're 40 minutes from another part of the big city. Basically. Because we have no mass transit. Yeah, so hopefully I'll get to see that. That'll be a lot of fun.
So you ordered a Stinger?
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Of course you did.
I had to. It's my big purchase for this year. I usually buy at least one really expensive blaster. And from the look of it, I might need to do some cosmetic work to it because it's so compact. That I may have to try to design an extended muzzle of some kind so that I can put a foregrip on it, or a very specific foregrip.
Clearly, it is not modular enough for the captain.
Yeah, that's the problem. It also doesn't have side Picatinny rail or a holster mount, but if I'm using it as my primary, I don't need the whole. You don't want to know how expensive it is.
Oh, I know.
It's a large chunk of money, but I needed to blow the rest of my yearly bonus, so it is now well and thoroughly blown.
I understand that. I am one of the many owners of an SPF, so I understand that.
I've got the SPF, I've got the Momentum, I've got 2 Pew Pews, yeah, and now I'll have a Stinger and 2 FDL3s.
And you have a Mammoth.
And a Smart Gun and a Mammoth and a Moose and a yeah.
Sidebar.
Some things I had to pay for.
So Xbox is going to be selling stuff on Saturday, and I am quite excited for it. I'm not going to tell you what, but if you follow them, you probably already know, but they're going to have some very nice stuff at the booths on Saturday.
You do know Xbox lives 15 miles from me, right?
He's closer than the supermarket.
He actually is.
That tells you his
15-minute drive to his house. It's a 30-minute drive to the nearest Winco.
He drives over to Joe's house and says, "Hey man, can I get some groceries?"
I have been trying to get these blasters that he's wanting out of him for like 2 years now, and I'm just gonna order one, and then he's gonna look like a mook. It's apparently the only way. He might be in the chat. If he shows up, he will get grief. So somebody asked, and it really was kind of my question is, will the Stinger outperform an FDL3? And if anything, the only thing that I think it might be is it's more compact. It's slimmer, more compact, and it's got metal side panels. And that makes a huge difference. So we'll see. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I can, in fact, replace my current HVZ primary, which is a full dart semi-automatic FDL3, with the Stinger. But for that to work, I need side Picatinny rail, left side Picatinny rail to mount my Jupiter on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always, and this is me picking on Boomstick for a little bit, for like 5 more seconds.
Let him have it. Let's go.
I've constantly told him, hey, look, for your channel, you should absolutely do comparison videos of some of the high powered stuff. Like compare Momentum to SPF and let people know what you're feeling. You're not going to hurt either side. You have them both. Or at least he has access to them because he can always borrow one of ours.
Yeah.
And of course, the designer of the Spirit lives in Maryland, so he could do that. He can do that three comparison and it'd be a video that I think would be wildly popular.
Yep. I want to get Xbox's brushless pistols and compare them to my Pew Pews. I'll probably compare the Stinger to the FDL3 to the SPF. Just because I will have them all.
You have all the things. You should compare the things.
I have the toys.
I have some of the things. I have 2 FDLs.
I have none, and I actually met Project FDL about 6 months before they shut down. They were at a 3D printers convention here in Maryland, And so I got to meet them. Great people. I just never actually bought their stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got
man.
one of the last ones that they made with one of their last kits, and then the second one I smuggled in from Denmark. So
Legit.
I got the full dart one. It will take the 40 round mags, the double stack mags, but it
Dominator.
also has the scales to drop it down to regular size mags, which is what I run it with. I just wanted the option. But it's semi-automatic. I got the simple one. I didn't do that on purpose. I missed the box you had to check to get the fancy one. And I'm very, very glad I got the semi-automatic one because it's so much better for HVZ. But then when in Denmark, somebody handed me a Select Fire half dart one in my colors, and they offhandedly mentioned they were looking to sell it. And like, how much? What's your PayPal? All right, this is coming with me. God willing, TSA won't destroy it. My Jupiter is modular the way it is, where I can mount it to the side of a blaster and it becomes the foregrip that fires the Jupiter because TSA broke it.
Wow.
Of course they
They
did.
broke the handle off, and I'm like, well, how am I going to fix this? And then I went, if I added Picatinny rail.
Turning an L into a W.
Yeah, like, now this is much better.
With my FDLs, I lucked out. I was able to exchange a lot of armor for my FDL.
Yeah. You got them from Matt, right?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, he had like 20 of them at one point. Some ridiculous number.
And it's not because he was hoarding them like that, just because of the events that he runs locally and stuff like that. It was especially more high performance, and they're all the same, and he had people that could work on them. It made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Also,
then he switched
had
out
money, and he bought them from FDL, so it wasn't like he was,
Yep.
buying up them after they were, unobtainium and hoarding them.
Yep.
But yeah, year 2 are from him. Sergeant Deplorables came from him.
Yep. Yeah, it was a stretch where he wanted a lot of armor. And I'm like, I will make whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's armored. He doesn't travel much for events, so I'd like
is a
it if he
lot
came
of
out
fun. Yes, the euro is currently worth more than the dollar.
By the way, did you see what Ludus Games wrote earlier?
You will get in the car, and I will refuse to drive anywhere. Yeah, that's why I'm getting my own car, so I don't have to put up with your chicanery. I swear to God, I am driving across that parking lot in my own SUV next come this week. I don't care if it's 5 feet away, I am driving.
Are you gonna make him walk?
I'm walking simply because my intention is to get absolutely plastered and then happy walk my butt right back to the hotel room.
Yeah, there you go.
Same.
I don't drink, so that doesn't work for me.
That's right.
I don't drink that heavily.
I might have to
I'm a very social drinker, but I might change that status that Saturday night.
That's right, Cap. You're going to be Andrew's DW, designated walker.
Yeah. Just
Absolutely.
roll him back to the hotel.
Make sure he goes. No, this way. No. It's going to be all of us, and then Cap going, why am I shepherding this hopeless flock of mooks?
Yeah, see, I don't have a Gunk 200 yet. I would love one, but I have 2 pew-pews, so it's kind of hard to justify. But it would be one that if I ever try to build my own brushless pistol, I'd probably start with that one.
Oh, the Gunk?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
I do have a pair of Dianas in addition to a pair of pew-pews.
Yeah, I think the Diana is my next purchase.
It's snappy. It's so damn snappy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you hear there is a brand new model that's a little bit faster that they're coming out with in like 10 days?
No.
I did not.
Yeah, there's officially a original model and a 2025 model now.
Mm.
And the only reason I haven't bought it yet is because shipping from Singapore is ridiculous.
Yeah. Weirdly, shipping from Belgium isn't.
Yeah, I found the old model heavily discounted, and the only reason I didn't buy it right then and there because shipping was like 2/3 the cost of the blaster itself.
Mm.
Holy cow, man!
Yeah, I think I got mine from out of darts.
So is the new Diana? Does it look exactly the same? It's just the internals are different, or is it also reshelled?
It pretty much looks exactly the same as the current model, but yeah, it's supposed to shoot about 10 darts per second faster.
I
higher
gotta
rate
get
of fire. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
but I am
high.
definitely eyeing one for reasons. I am eyeing pistols.
Yeah, the only brushless long arm I know of is the SBF.
Mm-hmm.
There are like kits you can get for the other ones to make them bigger. I mean, obviously my smart gun is a long arm and it's brushless, but it's also proton pack. So
There you go. Yeah, if you didn't know, I'm a huge fan of pistols.
me too. I rarely ever get to the point of using my pistol, but I like having one.
Absolutely. Like I just like pistols for control purposes, but I gotta get back in the swing of actually cycling through my weapons when I have them both on.
Yeah.
By the way, so Cordell this year has helped me out at two of my conventions so far. At Katsukan, he was in the booth with us, and then also at AwesomeCon. And it's not me just saying you come work my booth. It's also, well, it's a lot of fun. He was going anyways, but at the same time, it's opportunity to promote Maryland Foam Alliance, the hobby, and foam flinging wars, because people always ask. It was perfect, and he answers all the questions, and it's his event. But also at these events, we were always near a prop thing where they actually made like foam props, where my stuff looks like props, but obviously we know it all shoots. So then Cordell at Katsukan brought his pistol in comparison to all the foam ones, and it was a lot of pistol envy.
Yeah.
You want to tell them about that, Cordell?
Oh, absolutely. So I don't know if you know anything about the video game Destiny, Captain, but there is a very popular revolver involved with Destiny called the Ace of Spades. And just so happened that the foam prop guys have the really foam one that doesn't do anything. It just looks cool. And it's like regular pistol size. And I have the Nerf limited Ace of Spades, which is game accurate size. And it's like this big. And I'm like, if we're having this contest, I'm winning.
Man shoots. What's yours do?
Nothing.
Can I buy yours? Nope.
Nah, it's mine. Go online and buy it. I think you can still actually purchase it if you want to. I think it's like $50 plus shipping.
Yeah, there was somewhere I got it on clearance. And you're like, yeah, might as well.
Yeah, just to own it. It's really nice looking. I've debated whether or not to find a set of brushless motors that will fit in it because it's that big, and do something stupid with it. But that's on my bucket list of things, dumb projects I want to do just for the lulz.
Yeah. Once you know how to do brushless motors, it's not nearly as daunting. It's just code.
I haven't actually dug into the actual mods on that. Is it any different from standard flywheels? Because I know it's an extra set of wires.
You got to have a computer.
Mm.
You have to have some kind of a controller to run the brushless motors. Most people use an Arduino, and you can get Arduinos that are the size of a stick of gum that'll run a brushless motor, depending on how complicated you want to make it. If you just want pull rev trigger motors spin, that's simple code. If you want to make it select fire, okay, now it's going to be a lot more code. If you want to have adjustable FPS, that's more code. But all of that code is available online because you can just use FDL's code if you want to. The smart gun just runs on a semi-automatic FDL code. And then I added some code to add an overdrive button. So there's a button I can push on the smart gun that will increase the FPS. But it only has two settings, which is roughly 100 and max. It only has one rate of fire because it's a smart gun. Why would you want a lower rate of fire? That would be silly.
Basically.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I need to do after I finish my current project, which Al kind of knows what I'm doing, but basically I had this idea about 3 years ago to throw in FDW overdrive into a Pathfinder to see what would happen. And lo and behold, it fits perfectly. So what happens if you do a solenoid powered Pathfinder? Is what I'm currently working on in secret.
Yeah, there are ways to shortcut it. Yeah, you can just use basically a servo tester, which just turns the wheels on. But there are potential issues with that. The nice thing about using proper Arduino and actual controllers is it's controlled. You can actually set the exact FPS you want because it's designed to do that.
A solenoid Pathfinder. You madman. You're in the right place.
Yep. I'm fully involved now. Now I'm just inventing projects that no one's done yet.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Arduino typically runs in C, but you can use other languages if you feel like it. I have a lot of experience in C++, so that was the language it was written in, and that's what I used. When I originally I wanted my minigun to be brushless. It was going to be my first brushless project, but I was not anywhere ready to do it when I built the thing. Then when I built the smart gun, I'm like, okay, the smart gun has to be brushless. It's the smart gun. And so I actually took the time to look into it. And at first it's like, oh no, it's going to be code and it's going to have to wait a minute. I have a degree in computer science. Why am I worried? One of the last classes I took in college was real-time operating systems, which is what an Arduino uses. And so when I actually started looking at it, it took me about a half hour of staring at the code and then suddenly just went, oh yeah. Hey, it works.
So what you're saying is I'm going to have to reintroduce myself back into C+ because I haven't actually touched it since my game design classes in college.
Yes. If you want to be able to customize the code, yeah, it's you're going to need at least C++ or C or something.
Noted.
So wait, you took one course in game design or a couple of courses in game design?
So my college degree I have a bachelor's in game design. So one of my courses was game programming. So I know exactly what he's talking about when he's talking about C++, but I haven't touched it since 2012. So like,
yeah, same.
I
hadn't when I built the smart gun, I hadn't touched code in a long time. Now I spend most of my working day doing SQL.
There you go. Like jumping
Java.
into
See, Java
SolidWorks.
is one I've never done. I've done Python, I've done PHP, I've done Prolog, I've done lots of different languages. We had a professor who he wanted to drive home a very important lesson, and he did it in the most sadistic manner possible, and it was magnificent. The lesson was learn to use the right tool for the right job. And he forced us to understand this concept by constantly forcing us to use the wrong tool all semester.
Oh, wow.
Yikes.
So he'd show us a problem, show us the language that you would want to solve this problem in. So like an AI problem, you'd use Prolog. For a text display, you'd use Icon. For data manipulation, you'd use C, whatever. Different problems, there are different languages that are particularly good at solving that language. And then he would give us an assignment based on that problem and make us do it in C. Every time. And, it'd be like, okay, in Prolog, this would be one line of code. One line of code would allow you to solve this problem. Here is what that one line of code would look like. Now go do it in C. And it would be 100 lines of code to do it in C.
What
and
you're
then
saying is that
we do Icon. Okay, I want you to do this problem. Icon would be a good language to do this in. It would take you 10 lines of code. Here's the 10 lines of Icon code. Now go do it in C. And it would be 120 lines of code in C. And so on and so forth, all semester long, until we got to the final assignment, which was a beast of an assignment. It was a brutal problem to solve. And he said, okay, here's the problem. There is no one language that will easily solve this problem. But there is the right combination of languages that you have learned over the course of the semester that will let you solve this problem. You may do this problem in whatever combination of languages you want. And I ended up using awk, C++, and icon, and it was maybe 30 lines of code. One person in the class didn't learn the lesson. He did it in C, and it was 300 lines of code.
No, sir.
300. You're like,
absolutely not. Doing 10 times the work for the same freaking thing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that was like 1 line of awk code, 5 lines of icon, and like 24 lines of C is what I did it in. I think it was awk, C, Python, or icon. Anyway, yeah, it was. That man did not learn the lesson. He's like, but I like C. Like, oh, you.
That's not the point, sir.
That is not the point.
So hang on, guys. Lucas Shadowing does have a good question in the chat.
Oh, what do we got?
That's it.
It's the do you guys think Hasbro has given up on the true vision of foam flinging question?
I'm not sure they ever had the true
vision.
The true vision.
I think they're floundering.
Hasbro is unfortunately the product of American corporatism. And their tagline for years was basically, "Ha, we have a monopoly. It's Nerf for nothing." And they were able to say that because there really was no competitor.
Yep.
And then they got competitors, and they didn't know how to handle it because they weren't used to having competitors. And they've handled it very, very poorly. And the way they're trying to handle it now is by trying to recreate a monopoly by constantly changing their ammo type to ammos that aren't compatible with their competitors. But it means they're also not compatible with themselves. Yep. So if somebody had a bunch of Nerf blasters, free N1, why would you buy N1 when X-Shot, Dart Zone, Worker, Buzzbee are all compatible with your existing ecosystem, but Hasbro isn't? They're burning their own bridges. It's just weird.
I have a very funny story that will bring that point home. So last year at the fair, and if you don't know, Maryland Foam Alliance, we are at our local county fair in September. We sell a bunch of blasters. And we sold a blaster to a mom. And about 2 hours later, she comes back and says, "Hey guys, this blaster doesn't work." And I look into it and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. And then I look at the magazine. I pull the magazine out of the blaster. It was a strike, by the way. And I look at the magazine and she has loaded it with her son's N1 darts. And I'm like, ma'am, that is not the right thing. You need old darts for this, not the new ones. And if it's that easily for a wandering mom to make that mistake, then what are they doing?
Yeah. I don't understand the logic behind it. I understand the logic is that they want their monopoly back. But that's American corporatism. The whole goal is to destroy your competition and corner the market. And that just isn't a sustainable system, because then you end up with no innovation because there's no competition. You end up with the dregs that Hasbro had been giving us before all of the competition. The sad thing is, they had amazing stuff. The Strife, the Longshot, the Alpha Trooper, the Retaliator, those were all fantastic blasters. And were hugely pivotal in the creation of where the hobby is now. And they've completely abandoned their own legacy. And it doesn't make any sense to me. But I'm a bad capitalist. I've come to understand this. I care about people.
Well, it's not just that, because their focus has become, again, it's almost like too big for the britches. And I can see definitely the need to go back to monopoly because it made sense. But at the same time, you look at who they're continue to lose the market share to, and it's everyone else doing what Nerf or Hasbro had done with the Elite series, where it was focusing on really like performance instead of just like, well, we're Hasbro, you'll buy whatever we throw at you. And so
Yeah.
then that why has Dart Zone become successful? Why has X-Shot become successful? Part of it because they also X-Shot definitely with the gimmicks, with the colors and the patterns, but at the same time they're still pulling out solid blasters. Dart Zone, why? Because instead of banking on, they don't have the lucrative contracts with like Fortnite or everyone else, so they just have to slap their logo on it. They're going to sell it. It's like, fine, we'll spend our money on engineering, actually researching the product and doing it. It's almost like Hasbro's need to redevelop the they're trying to recreate the wheel. You already have the wheel. You have the money and you have the engineers. Spend the money and just do better what everyone else is doing better, which is taking your own product and making it better instead of finding a new direction. As a result, they're wasting their money on trying to reinvent a wheel where everyone else is taking the wheel and turning it into a hot rod. And we're like, no, check out this cart. Trust me, it's great. It's called the triangle. It's like a wheel but better. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
It's that
doing all the
focus.
license stuff definitely hasn't helped them because that drives prices up. Because you know,
Mhm.
if you do Fortnite blasters, well, you got to pay for Fortnite's license. When you do Destiny, you got to pay for Destiny license. It also limits your, well, definitely in the case of Destiny, it limited some of the performance because the first thing it has to, the same thing with Star Wars, especially with the Star Wars stuff, it first has to look like the thing from Star Wars, and then it has to be a functional blaster. And a lot of Star Wars blasters don't lend themselves to being a good functional blaster because they're made for sci-fi. So there isn't a full-sized magazine. There isn't a good way to have a plunger tube. There isn't a good way to make it a revolver. And so you end up having to cram stuff into like the Boba Fett blaster to make it work, where occasionally they get lucky, and like the Jyn Erso blaster, it's just an M4. Just with greebles on it. Okay, that's easy to make work. And a lot of the Fortnite stuff works because they're all real weapons that they've just,
Comic-ified.
nerfified and comified. The
Yep.
Destiny blasters, they were smart and they went with Rival, which is easier to do stuff
Yep.
with. You can get a really good Springer with an internal magazine using Rival that you'd never be able to do with darts because darts take up so much more space. But somebody asked, could they recover their legacy? Yes, they would have to go back to using regular darts, and they really need to embrace half darts. Their first foray into pro stuff, the Strife X, was a fantastic blaster. It was overpriced a little, but it was a really good blaster. And the fact that it came with a USB rechargeable battery that was an actual LiPo, had good performance, took Talon magazines. They did everything right. And then they just abandoned that whole concept. They should have then made a Longshot X, an Alpha Trooper X, a Retaliator X, a Rapid Strike X, and just taken all of their best blasters that we used to mod, like the Strife, and made them pro level out of the box. They would have made a mint off of that. Because we all remember modding our first Strife. We all remember modding our first Longshot, and now we could get a really good one straight from Hasbro. That would have worked. But they didn't. They got into the pro game too late. If they'd gotten in earlier, they would have set the standard. We'd be using Nerf half-dart mags. But they didn't. Back when it was whether we were going to do katanas or Talon mags, that was a big debate. And the Talon mags were just better quality. And that's what the people started designing their 3D printed blasters around. And that became the standard. To the point that Hasbro had to stick with that standard, which still baffles me. That they didn't try to create a proprietary mag. And they kind of did. They figured out how to make it not work in darts and blasters.
Which boggles my mind because
and it's 5 minutes with a file or a Dremel to make it work in it's just that lip they added just so it wouldn't fit. You're like, what are you doing? But their pro darts were really good because they were AccuFake or AccuStrike pro darts, which we know AccuStrike are the most accurate darts anyone's come out with. But then they'd abandoned those and then sued anybody who made AccuFakes into the ground. And it's like, Jesus, Hasbro, quit shooting yourself in the foot. Just join the community.
Thoughts,
Yeah,
Cordell?
absolutely agreed. I think the only like really good thing, and actually we have a picture of this, is the Galahorn from Destiny was probably the best thing they did. I think we have this image of a certain individual in this chat trying to do something very funky with one.
I can master key it.
Yeah, he was gonna master key a Galahorn, and the Galahorn was gonna be the undermount.
Daffy, it's a pick of me holding the big thing, man.
Yeah, but like I say, we have the video evidence.
We can make it happen.
Of course we can, man. And see, it's like flashes of things like that, where it's like you can make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
But for whatever reason, the profit margins weren't big enough, so they abandon it and they go back to it. Why is the Ace of Spades a great blaster? But then you look at the M4 41A, like Aliens one, it's like, come on, man, you're right there. And again, you put these limitations on it where it's like, yes, but no. It's like, what are we doing? Like, wasted opportunities. And again, someone will come back, well, because of percentages and money. Yeah, I get it. Maybe on that specific project, but at the same time, longevity and goals, it's also establishing reputation and understanding of what you do. And instead, it's not. And it's so many things. It's so many things.
To tag along, I honestly think it's a lack of them wanting to make risks, unlike Dart Zone, who's willing to make a risk like making a under sub $100 AEB for the hobby. That'll probably get picked up by everybody just to see if it works.
Yeah. The big concern with the X-Shot one is that we know their plastic is crap, and an AEB is a beast of a thing. And unless their internals are better quality than their shells usually are, that thing's gonna tear itself apart eventually, or at least that's what we think. We don't know. We don't have it yet. That hasn't prevented people from speculating, of course, because people love to speculate, and as well they can. I'm stoked about it because if they can make it work, Dart Zone can make it work, Worker can make it work, and we will get more AEBs, hopefully in a reasonable price range. Because X-Shot can make it for 60, which is what the Stampede was when it came out 10 years ago. I would love to see Worker's take on an AEB. I would love to see Dart Zone's take on an AEB. It's just such a fun technology. The downside, of course, is that in general, it's more complicated than a flywheel. You got gearboxes are a complicated thing to manufacture and design, and how powerful do you make it hit? You're going to need metal gears. Okay, that's a lot more complicated than plastic gears. Yeah, I understand the logistics are a pain, but again, if X-Shot can pull it off, so can other people. We've got things like the BK1S and the BK2S and the inverted scales and the Soldier 70 or the Colonel Wasp 76 and 77. But those are all expensive.
They are. But it's almost like what's happening with the X-Shot AEB that's coming out. It has the potential windfall change of course, much like when Dart Zone came out with the Nexus.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, when those came out and suddenly there was a high-powered Springer available off the shelves for less than $50. That changed the game. And in some ways for the better and for the worse. A lot of people, they were coming out of the box, we're hitting 155, 160, and a lot of games capped at 150. Well, do we raise our cap to 160 so people can use these? And well, then the next blaster comes out and hits 170, and we raise it again, and eventually it's no longer a family-friendly event. And also the ran into the problems of stock didn't mean the same thing anymore. Stock used to mean it's going to be sub 100, closer to 75 for a dart blaster, 100 for rival. When I start a stock dart blaster off the shelf at Walmart's hitting 200 with things like the Striker 2.0, and it's like, oh, God.
Absolutely.
But we understand it better, and we know to base it off FPS now instead of stock, or how hard does it hurt when it hits you?
I can definitely tell you that is the exact discussion we had about 2, 3 years ago when the Nexus came out, and we had to amend our rule set to say nothing pro in our stock rounds, which is okay, keep it under like 90 to 100. So like the fastest you can shoot is a Perseus. And everything else above that, you gotta save for a soup stock round. It's just, it's not family friendly.
Yeah, and that's again perfectly understandable. In the kinds of events you want to run, you set your reasons. You know, when the what I could never even understand how the argument of, well, these blasters are available at Walmart, so we need to let people use them. You're like, that's not how safety standards work. We didn't set the FPS at 150 because that what was cheap and available. We set it because you go much more than that and it quits being fun for the little kids.
I mean, don't get me wrong, laser beaming a 10-year-old, one of those things is hilarious.
Oh, it's fabulous if you like hurting kids. I don't, but I'm weird that
If
way.
it happens.
But again, that's one of the things that I like about, things like Maryland Mayhem having a high cap event, as well as the public friendly event, as well as the HVZs. It demonstrates the variety of our hobby. We have high FPS events. We have low FPS events. We have stock events. We have, here in the Pacific Northwest, at our Borst Wars, we cap at 150 for most of it. We drop it down for HVZ because 150 is not fun at point blank range. But we also then do a section during the day that's high cap, during lunch.
Yep.
Go get your kids a burger while the adults go shoot each other and get welts. You're going to let your kid play? That's fine by me, but we don't want to hear it if they get hurt. That's on you. And we've had that. Someone runs out there, lets their 10-year-old go out, and he takes a 200 FPS dart to the forehead, and suddenly he's not having a good day, and you're like, we told you.
I say this with all certainty. When I said I laser beam like a 10-year-old who was saying he was 12 in our high FPS games, I'm like, oh, he's about to step out here, and he poked his head up, and I'm like, I have you dead to rights, and I am about to laser beam this kid, and I did it with zero regrets because you walked on the field.
Yeah.
Like you signed a waiver. Welcome to the paint train.
Mm-hmm. But it should be interesting. But well, again, and I get Hasbro maybe not wanting to do the Pro and the light, but there's always good combinations. X-Shot does it. Dart Zone does it. You know what I mean? They have X-Shot now with the Clip Mania. It's under 100 FPS, 95 and was it 90 FPS, man? Still a great blaster. Their version of a Strife. You get 3 mags, so many darts, and everything else. But at the same time, then you have the X-Shot Pro X. You got this AEB that's coming out. So it's like, I don't know. You know what it tells me? Whoever's in charge over there has got to get there whoever that took over the whole Nerf thing, had an idea, had the wrong people in his ears, or does not understand Nerf, and should not have been in charge of it.
I have a feeling,
and because I'm a professional.
I have a feeling that it's probably just interference from everyone in C-suite. Like, no, that won't make us money. Yes, it will. It won't make you fast money, but it will make you money.
Yeah. I think what's happening at Hasbro is basically what happened to Lego in the late 90s. They brought in the wrong people, and they ruined their own product. And it wasn't until they found somebody who understood the community that they brought it back. Now, the other thing you have to understand is we have to remember our part of the hobby is a footnote in Hasbro's ledger. We're nothing. We're nothing to them.
We don't exist.
They don't care about us to the point that they have made their products intentionally antagonistic to our side of the hobby. Though apparently there was enough backlash from that they undid that. Because there was an era there where they went back to gluing their blasters together. And I don't know if they fell afoul of the right to repair laws or what made them change it. But they got slammed by our side of the community because these blasters were poorly made. They had, plastic leaf springs instead of real springs, and they were clearly made to break.
I can guarantee you, whosever idea that led that meeting and came up with it. And everyone was like, oh, this is great. You just made us how much money? You either got fired or quit because, like, yeah, you dumbass. In the long range, this is how much you actually cost us.
Yeah,
Sorry, carry
those
on.
did not sell, I guarantee it. Especially after like Qualcomm did the Warden video. Though the Elite 2.0 line was an absolute travesty. Was not a sell.
Yeah. No, the Elite 2.0 line was in what I believe was the result of what they tested with the Alpha Strike line, which is, can we make super cheap blasters that can get a price point that will compete with X-Shot? And they were all trash. The ergonomics were bad. The performance was bad. They felt just unpleasant to use. They had none of the old Hasbro quality that we were familiar with. You know, things didn't rotate good. They didn't sound good. But they then decided to apply that to their primary line. All of those budget cuts, leaf springs instead of metal springs, fewer screws because they used clips and glued things together. All ways to cut cost here and there. A couple of pennies here, a couple of pennies there per blaster adds up over 1 million blasters. And it just didn't work.
No.
They break easily, they wear out easily, and Nerf blasters are not supposed to be disposable, and not when you've got the high quality stuff coming out of X-Shot and Dart. And the X-Shot feels cheap, but it performs.
And for $35, we put up with plunger tubes that break because it's only $35 and you still got 150 FPS, 160 FPS.
And you buy the $25 high powered blaster, put $35 worth of upgrade parts in it. Now you're hitting 260. That's nuts. It's still $60 for a 250 FPS bullpup. You know, yeah, it feels rickety, but I've never heard of anyone actually having their X-Shot long shot shatter. It just feels like it's going to.
Absolutely.
Well, it's like, Cordell, you saw it when we're working the booth, man, and we're selling people, and they come up, and it's the same. I got to put up a sign, so I have to say it. Yes, they all shoot, because everyone's like, well, I thought this was just a prop, man.
Not at
I
all.
know you think that it all shoots, and then they pick it up and they're like, holy cow, this is so much better than Nerf. And so, how is the best explanation we come up with? Here's the difference. Nerf spends its money on licensing agreements. Huh?
Should I load the picture of the Waffle House employee we armed on Saturday?
Yes, that guy was awesome.
I have that photo. I can put it in the chat. It's ridiculous.
Put it in there. A man behind the curtain will put it up. Yeah, Daffy, there's a picture we got. It was a guy cosplaying as a Waffle House employee, and we armed him, and then we took pictures of him. Yeah.
Give me
Speaking
a
of the
few
chat,
seconds to find it.
Speaking of the chat, Lego Boy, you are not going to win this debate. Just drop it, please. 160 is not an acceptable FPS for HVC. It just isn't.
No.
There's a reason all of the big HVZs, RAG, End War, Survival Fest, Maryland Mayhem, there is a reason they all cap at the cap that they do.
Yep.
You want to sound tough? Go right ahead. Nobody is going to want to go to an event like that. Or at least a lot of people aren't. The first RAG was 150. It was unpleasant. I felt bad shooting people at 150. They did not have fun getting shot at 150. We don't do that anymore. So just stop.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. So
this ridiculousness.
This guy was a lot of fun. He showed up as a well, you tell him, Cordell.
So yeah,
Who's the
I
mook
just
in the
put
wig?
a bunch of the photos up here. Well, first we have these pics of Cat. We have this really funny thing of Al doing things, but this guy was great because he was cosplaying as a Waffle House employee, and we're like, we have to arm this guy because if you know the stories of how infamous Waffle House employees are at combat, like they're monsters at hand-to-hand combat because they constantly have to deal with people drunk off their butts at 3 a.m. So what happens when you give them firearms?
Yeah.
And armor. He was a lot of fun, man. Oh, but anyways, so the way I was explaining to people, and as soon as he explained it, it made the total sense. I said, where Nerf leans on their brand name, and that whatever they slap their logo on, they expect you to buy it. Everybody else, and this is why they're slowly eating away at the market, they spend their money on actually engineering and listening to what you do. Where Nerf has standard rails, like Dart's own X-Shot has standard Picatinny rails. Where Nerf has its own attachment point, they always try to they try to copyright everything they can. I said, here's the advantage. I said, when you pull up like an X-Shot blaster and you look at the back of it, and also a long shot blaster. Here's my pitch from the convention. You look at the back of it. That is a standard like end strike attachment for a stock. Why? Because Nerf couldn't copyright a square. And where Nerf was like, we'll make our own thing, everyone else is like, thank you, we'll just make this compatible with everything. Standard buffer tubes on the Dart Zone blaster, so you can actually have airsoft buffer tubes or anything else. You could put anything on it instead of like, no, we're gonna corner the market. Those days are dead. Your monopoly is gone. You know what I mean? There's so many other things. Make your stuff the universal fit like it was all the time, and you'll still sell because then you lean on Nerf your name, but at the same time, then you can attach anything and everything to it. But what do we know?
Yeah, I mean, if they brought back they could just literally just bring back the End Strike line exactly as it was, and we would love them for it. You want to change the colors? Change the colors. They had strifes on the shelf for like 10 years and went through 5 or 6 different colors, and we never stopped buying them because they never stopped being good. And because the strife was on the shelf so long, that's why there's so much stuff for it. There are so many cages, so many cosmetic kits, so many upgrades. There's a reason I still buy them whenever I see them, because they're still the best platform because of how long it was on the shelf. Even the good companies, X-Shot, Dart Zone, the problem is their stuff is on the shelf for 6 months. And then they come out with a new one. So, there isn't time to develop the kind of modifications that existed for the Strife when you can only get it for 6 months. What's the point in spending all the R&D and developing, flywheel cages and cosmetic mod kits from the Thunderbolt when you know that by the time you get them developed, you won't be able to go to Walmart and get them anymore?
So the two that are lasting longer than expected so far is the Outlaw is continued now in different colors and continues to do so. Part of it is again because it's a Hammer Shot Prime revolver and its performance as opposed to what the Hammer Shot was. And then also the Hammer Prime, and then also surprisingly the Omnia, because the Omnia, for all its shortcomings, is still at $80, 150 FPS, 7 darts a second, full auto rechargeable battery, darts and everything else. Rookie into it, but again, we're now in its 3rd iteration and it's still selling.
Yeah. And that's because they are really good blasters that continue to sell. You make them in different colors because some people are collectors and they got to have every color. People are like that, but yeah, they're doing the right thing. They found the blaster that sells well and continues to sell well. Will continue to produce it. Whereas,
I already had this in red.
Yeah,
see,
I got a pair in orange now. They weren't originally orange. I used chemicals and made them orange.
I just bought 20 more that I got to paint up. So,
well, that was another thing. Someone in the comments just made an excellent point. You mentioned that Hasbro has the engineers to design good stuff. They don't even need to. We are the engineers that have now designed the good stuff, and that's where X-Shot is getting us. The X-Shot long shot is just a Lynx internally, as far as everything matters. The Swift and the whatever the stupidly long X-Shot one. Yeah, the Mark IV. They're just Caliburns. They're just Caliburns.
Yeah.
We did the R&D for that. All they had to do was mass produce them and put a nice shell on them.
The Venom
Hasbro
Pro
could be doing that too, and they're able to do that because we can't afford patents. Yes. And even if we could, they've got better lawyers than us.
The Venom essentially looks like just like a Nightingale.
Yeah, the Venom's a Nightingale. The Nightingale is just whatever this thing behind me is, the Desert Pigeon. How do you make a compact magazine-fed pistol without it looking goofy? Well, here's how we did it. Oh, well, we'll do that. They're absolutely building. Hell, the Strife was modeled after us taking a barricade and making it mag-fed. We did that. We took long shot or Rampage mag wells and shoved it where the cylinder was on a barricade, and now you've got a semi-automatic mag-fed flywheeler. Well, next thing you know, the Strife comes out. And some people are like, well, they're stealing our ideas. And you're like, no, they're taking our good ideas and making them readily available and much more
mass producing.
Better.
So on that note, when the SBF, the not the Morpheus, but never mind that. Does someone take the Stinger and then mass produce that?
Yeah,
probably not. But
well, that's the thing is none of the major companies. The only injection molded brushless one I know of is the Diana. I'm really kind of surprised that we don't have a worker S or FDL. I'm not surprised Hasbro hasn't done it. Brushless is a much more expensive technology. But why hasn't Worker? It's been years, and they still don't have a brushless blaster from Worker. They're the ones making the cheap drones. They've got the motors. They've got the technology.
For some reason, not yet, or they're focusing on. But here's the other thing. All those companies, they all have FDLs. They all bought FDLs, took them apart, and say, how are we going to do with this?
Yeah, you would think, you would hope. And it may have just proved that, we can't make this cheap enough.
All of them unofficially have admitted to it.
Yeah, but it's when the R&D already exists and a lot of it's open source. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's they know. I mean, again, look at what our hobby has made for ourselves and mass produce that.
It just saves you how much in your own division by just having some
your
guy
own R&D.
watch
all you got to
YouTube.
do is the cosmetics. Deal with the cosmetics, and that's not hard.
Yeah. How do we do this? Go watch that guy's channel. See if you can steal any ideas from him. Oh yeah, this actually saved us about 4 months in research because now I know what to do. All right, we're starting with this.
Yeah. Well, in some cases they have. The reason the Strife X was such a good platform is they hired people from the hobby to make it for them.
They didn't hear the man in the curtain behind us said it's almost like they should pay us. So they'll
yes,
now tell them.
That's where that came from. Is that in some cases they have a lot of the Talon, not the Talon, the Katana Mag was somebody from inside the hobby. But Hasbro actually did hire people from our hobby. They made the Strife X, which is exactly what we wanted, and then immediately didn't follow up. Like, oh, God, you were this close.
Captain Slug, doesn't he work for Busby now, or like has association with Busby?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I thought Captain Slug worked with, or was Let's
see, what do we got going on in the chat? Airsoft sucks and paintball is dying or expensive. That is. The number of people I've met that have come into Nerf because paintball got too expensive is understandable. And I also not to harp on you too much. I was a bit rough about in the back there. There are places that people play high cap. We've got a group here called Bucket. It's an uncapped event. There is no cap. I could bring my mammoth there and play with it. I could bring my moose and play with it. There is nothing inherently wrong with playing high-capacity games. HVZ just isn't one of the places where that is viable because it's played at point-blank range, and that just isn't fun. If you're going to play high cap, it's because you're typically playing in long engagements, and that's where those kind of things shine, because I would love to take my moose to an event, full ghillie suit up, and just snipe people with Mega from 100 feet away, because I can.
From a scissor lift.
Yeah, there you go. And that is the beautiful thing about this hobby is however you want to play, there is a way to do it. You just have to do it right. Like you don't want to take super high cap stuff to a public park because as somebody pointed out, what happens if you overshoot and hit a jogger in the eye with a 200 FPS blaster and they end up in the ER and the city ends up banning Nerf from the park. Now you don't have your venue. Okay, how do we prevent that? Well, we can cordon off an area. You can reserve the park. That might cost money. We don't have enough. Logistics is always an issue, which is the beauty of having that indoor venue that we have is we can do high cap in the parking garage and not have to worry about hitting a non-player. We can do high cap on my property because it's private property. Public areas, you got to keep that in mind. Is what if what we do negatively impacts the hobby? And so,
absolutely,
if you have private property that you get to play on, it becomes really easy to forget that not everybody does. And so you're used to playing 200 FPS, 250 FPS, and someone comes along and says, sorry, we only allow 150, and it doesn't make any sense to you because that wouldn't make sense in your venue. But in a public park, that becomes a serious concern. When we do our high Captain Borst, we are a lot more conscious about what's going on. We keep a closer eye on the random people who walk through the middle of a very obvious active Nerf game with their dog, just completely unself-aware of what's going around them. And yes, they have just as much right to the park as we do because we don't reserve the park. Yeah. But seriously, you go 20 feet that way and you could walk along the path that is outside of our border. But no, you're going to go right through the middle because you can. People.
I mean, if I'm going hunting at an HVZ, I'm bringing out one of my shotguns. That was definitely what me and Boom did last year. We were shotgun buddies with Spring Thunders because it's hilarious. Yeah. And within the next year or so, we'll be shotgun buddies, except we're going to have battle axes.
Yeah. Battle axe is fun. The battle axe is fun. I'm actually currently in the process. What I've been working on earlier today when I was dremeling is I got one of the that AGM, is that what it is? AGM shotgun thing that take shells, and I'm painting it up to be more realistic than I would ever be willing to take to an HVZ because I want to use it at Afterworlds, where you're required to paint them realistic. And that's another perfect example of how one place that we use Nerf and another place can be completely different. Afterworlds requires that you paint your blaster realistic because otherwise it ruins the immersion of the LARP. Whereas you can't bring a realistic looking blaster to an HVZ, you'll get the cops called on us and the event shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is I should absolutely bring a big black Spring Thunder if I ever go.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
But the real where that runs into issues is on the internet, where everything mixes. Because if somebody posts a picture of their blaster from Afterworlds on a public board where there are people that go to HVZs, the HVZ people are going to flip out because you can't use that, you're going to get a shot. And the LARPer's going, what are you talking about? I use this on private property. Yeah, but we don't. And some kid's going to see this and paint their blaster and take it to the park. And you're like, as ridiculous and convoluted as that sound, that is absolutely what will happen.
And then the other thing I have to worry about specifically is getting that through airports. Like,
yeah,
that's a pretty big, realistic looking shotgun. Yeah, I gotta explain to TSA I'm carrying a toy shotgun across the country.
Yeah, this is why we have checked luggage. You can put a real gun in checked luggage if you want, but they usually charge you. The beauty of my travel is the trunk that I use to travel that will fit my entire HVZ kit is the exact maximum dimensions before it becomes oversized luggage. So it's free if I fly Alaska. As long as it's under 50 pounds, which it usually
airline.
is. Yeah. It's pretty much the only thing you can fly out of the Pacific Northwest. Anyway.
For all those following along at home, make sure you did. By the way, I had a thought. And I think it'd be funny if we somehow manage a scissor lift at Mayhem and we end up in the box. I think whether we cause that to happen from our heckling or it's organized at one point where the entire room turns and empties magazines at the raised thing, I think would be great footage.
We have to make that happen because I'm pretty sure there will be a scissor lift because I believe that's how we raise the banner. So I'm pretty sure there's either a picker or a cherry picker or a scissor lift that we use to do that. We need to make this happen.
For at least part of it. I mean, we don't have to do it for the entire event, but for maybe the finals or something.
But can you imagine if everyone turns around and just unloads and tries to hit us up in the scissor lift?
Absolutely,
that would be fun. It'd be ridiculous. Definitely, I will make sure to pack a mask. Which I was going to pack.
Andrew has enough drone and/or camera equipment to get all the shots of that. That would be hysterical.
There's a random question. The rise and fall of headshot ammo.
Oh yeah.
Headshot ammo is what killed the proton round.
I'm bringing the Titan so that we can unload from on high, and yeah, we'll take it, but we'll give it back.
The most apt iteration of death from above, as far as Nerf is concerned.
Oh, that'd be fun. We are running low on time, so just a reminder to everyone that, again, next Wednesday on the Foam Zone, we will have the bracket reveal for Maryland Mayhem. So, again, next Wednesday, be sure to tune in to Foam Zone. Cordell will probably be back on again next Wednesday. Look at him from like show after the show, and then Cordell will be on the show after that to talk about, I don't know, something else and something else. And then suddenly it becomes a Cordell show, and me and Chayla would just stay at home and do nothing. But anyways, next Wednesday is the is the bracket reveal. So be sure to take part in that. Maryland Mayhem is coming up, and as if you've been paying attention along with the chat, apparently me and Cap are going to do something stupid, and it's going to be fun. But you know what? That's why we do these things, because it is about.
We know what we're about.
All right, 5 minutes left. Did you want to talk about headshot ammo?
Actually, remember, I'm supposed to wire a flywheel cage.
Oh, we supposed to do that today for the stream?
Yeah. Remember, we started adding a Captain Xavier mods of thing at the end of the stream, and they voted on flywheel cage last time. So.
Oh, that's right. We only got 5 minutes left, though, because then the main.
That should be about how long it should take to wire a flywheel cage.
All right, wire a flywheel cage. Go. Cordell and I will play the background music. It's like Jeopardy.
All right. So.
Tell us.
Flywheel cage. Oh, we can get closer than that. Zoom it in. There we go. So here is our flywheel cage. I have it currently assembled. We're just doing the wiring. So you do need to have it mounted. You've got your motor mount screws in. You've got your flywheels on. You got your cage assembled, and you have your motors in place. Now, how to properly wire it up. Now, it is going to depend on how you put the motors in. It doesn't actually matter how you put them in. You can put them in both red dots one way, one red dot one way. It doesn't actually matter as long as you figure out which way is which. Because the beautiful thing about brushed motors is if you hook negative to one and positive to one, it'll spin one direction. If you switch which one's negative and which one's positive, it'll just spin the other direction. So it doesn't really matter which way you're doing it, unless you're going to be using like a motor spanning board, and those should indicate which way it should go. But we need to figure out which of these pins needs to be positive and which ones need to be negative, and the easiest way to do that is to take a battery with some alligator clips and just hook them up. So if I touch it, we know that this is the entry point, so we want the wheels spinning in towards here. So if we touch our poles, the wheel will spin and we can test. You can just feel, yep, this one is spinning this way when positive is on the red dot on the front one. If we test the other one and we go the other way, that is in fact incorrect. So now it's spinning the wrong direction, which if you had one motor spinning one way, or they're both spinning the same way, bad things are going to happen when you go to put a dart through it. So we want positive on these two and negative on these two. And so we can just span directly across with our wires. If one of them was the other way, we would just have to cross the wires, which some people do that on purpose when they have like a clear side panel. We used to do that, clear motor covers, and they went to a lot of trouble to make their soldering look really pretty, and they'd have an X, and then they, their heat shrink and all of that. If you're not concerned about this, this is a little bit simpler. We have our wires, we have our soldering iron, which is hopefully hot now because we are running low on time. Come on, get my, you know what? Never mind. We'll use this. So we're going to want to tin all of our leads because it'll make it much easier to connect. And as with all things in soldering, remember, heat the thing you want to connect the solder to and let the solder melt off of it. Because if the item is not hot, the solder won't actually stick to it. So we're just going to put a little bit of solder on each one of these so that it'll be easier to connect the wires when the time comes. So Now all of those have been tinned, plenty of solder on it. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. When I first started doing it, I would clip a section of wire that was exactly the length of the distance between them, and then solder that, and then solder another piece onto the end. I have since acquired better tools that make it easier to do this, which is a much fancier wire stripper. If you get one of these kind that stretch it, you can then break a section of the coating of the insulation in the middle, and it will allow you to not have to do separate pieces. I use this wire stripper for stripping the ends because it is super, super easy, makes a really clean clipped end. You then twist the strands together. You then get your flux paste. Never try to solder without flux paste. It's an absolute nightmare. I can't believe how long I soldered without flux. So much anger. We're going to do the same thing we did to the motor leads, and we're going to tin our wire. So we're going to heat it up. You'll hear the solder or the flux sizzle. And the beauty of the flux is it will make the solder go to where the flux is, and it will soak it completely into the wire and make it very nice and solid. This will now help keep the insulation from sliding off the end when we strip the middle section. So we're going to figure out how long we need, and then we're going to put this in there, and it will strip a section in the middle. So I now have a section that I can solder to here, a section I can solder to there, and it doesn't actually break the wire, which is lovely. We are going to want to put a little flux paste on this middle section. I just use a screwdriver, paste it on there. And once again, tin it. Still in frame.
Tinning. Ah, sorry. Hashtag tinning, hashtag winning. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
There we go. Now it's nicely tinned. And we should be able to quite easily reheat this section of solder. Oh, clean my solder tip there. Give it time to cool. Bend it so it reaches over to this one. And there we have our positive line complete. Spans both motors, and then this would go on to, well, your switch. Do the exact same thing for the negative. Strip a section in the middle. Give it some flux. Give it some tin. And solder there.
Doesn't even make this look too easy.
Solder it there.
Absolutely.
And there it is. Now, if we really wanted to, we could strip the ends here. Give them a quick twist. Hook them up. That. Let me go find it. Dart. The dart.
Cordell, you do it this fast too, right?
Yeah, but I do it much more dangerously. I don't use strippers. I use a set of X-Acto knives, and I have somehow not cut myself.
It works.
Of course it works.
Of course it does.
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm able to make it look easy is I've done it a lot, but also I have the right tools.
There it is.
It really, I cannot begin to stress how much easier this has gotten since I got these two different tools. This one makes stripping the end of a wire absolutely effortless, and this allows you to strip middle sections. You can use this one to strip the ends, but it's not as easy. This one is so easy, it's criminal. And so,
Clearly.
yeah. Getting a good soldering iron made a huge difference. When I first started soldering, the soldering iron I had was garbage, and it made it practically impossible. And I didn't know how bad my soldering iron was because I didn't know what a good soldering iron was like. And it wasn't until somebody who soldered professionally saw me trying to solder and asked what on earth I was doing. It made it much easier. Getting good solder made a difference. Some of the solder I had before was not a good quality solder. And again, I didn't have any frame of reference, so I didn't realize how bad it was. And even this stuff, the stuff that I will be using once this runs out, is much nicer. And I didn't realize that this wasn't really good solder. It was better than what I had before. But one roll of solder will go a really, really long way.
When you do it right.
Discovering flux. That was life-changing as well.
Not Dr. Flux.
Not Dr. Flux. Dr. Flux uses flux. Dr. Flux knows about flux.
It's all flux. Perfect.
Yeah, so simple how to solder up a flywheel cage. If you use the motor spanning board, it's even easier. Put the border on, solder. Done.
There you go.
I pretty much exclusively use motor spanning boards now because I'm lazy, and they're $3 from Out of Darts.
Hey. All right. On that note, that was awesome. Thanks, Cap.
Yeah. What do you want to see next time, folks? What simple little technique, trick would you like to see me demonstrate?
Put it in there now in the comments.
Put it in the chat. Let me know.
Rules. Yeah.
Yeah, it could do about switches. It could be about solenoids. It could be about resistors. Let me know what you want to see, and if I know it, I'll do it. If I don't, I'll research it and figure it out.
Or come up with something.
I'll come up with something.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, once again, thank you for watching us on the World Foam Alliance YouTube channel. This was Get Off My Lawn with myself and one Captain Xavier. And again, we'd like to thank our guest, Cordell Warren of the Maryland Foam Alliance, one of the admins. Cordell, quick, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me online on Instagram at the Maryland Foam Alliance, along with Boomstick and Andrew, or aka Dart Sweep. You can also find me personally on Instagram at 703 Labs.
Bingo, bango. Thank you, sir. So again, next Wednesday on the Foam Zone, again, we're going to be doing the bracket reveal, which is always a lot of fun. You get to find out who all these people are playing with and what to look forward to for the tournament. Also, they're going to be talking about Maryland Mayhem in general and probably most likely the tournament. So it's going to be fun next Wednesday. Don't forget to share, like, and tell everybody about what's going on and what we're doing, because that's what we want to do. Hit the like the button, blah, 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 blah. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And as we said today, come out to Maryland Mayhem. If not, watch on the YouTube channel, because apparently Cap and I will be up in a scissor lift that people are going to be shooting at, and this is going to be awesome. With that, we will be back again in 2 weeks. Who we're going to have, I don't know, but we will figure it out. Cap, you have any final words before we say goodbye?
Well, Wizard Build suggested flywheel extraction, and I'm wondering if you mean taking the flywheels off the motors? Is that what you mean by flywheel extraction? I'm going to ask in the chat. Other than that, no. I'm looking forward to Maryland Mayhem. I'm looking forward to Survival Fest, because I've been to Maryland Mayhem and I know it's a great event. I've yet to be to a Survival Fest, so all I have is hearsay on how wonderful it is.
It's wonderful. He's going. I'll be there. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in. We shall see you next time. And please get off my lawn.